All right, we're going to try something a little different today. We're going to look way back, like thousands of years back, to solve some of our most modern, most complicated problems. We're calling it the Sinai solution. Now I know what you're thinking. How can a 3,000-year-old event in the desert possibly have anything to say about our lives today? It sounds kind of crazy, right? But what if it does? That's the big question we're diving into.
And here's the wild part. The answer isn't buried in some dusty old scroll or lost to history. Nope. Turns out, it's been hiding in plain sight this whole time.
Okay, so before we get to the solution, we've got to really understand the problem we're up against. Let's talk about the clash between our world today and this ancient blueprint.
And you know what I'm talking about, right? This feeling of being digitally isolated, even when we're supposedly more connected than ever. We get trapped in these social media echo chambers where all we hear are our own opinions bounced back at us, and all of that just feeds this overwhelming political polarization that is, well, it's just exhausting. These are the bugs in our modern operating system.
So, to find the source code for a fix, we have to travel back in time. Way back. All the way back to a mountain in the middle of a desert. Okay, try to picture this. You have this huge group of people who've just been freed after generations of slavery. They have no laws, no real structure, nothing holding them together except what they've just escaped from. I mean, freedom is incredible, but it's also total chaos. They were about to just fall apart. So the Sinai event, it wasn't just about getting a set of rules. It was about receiving a radical new blueprint for how to build a society, literally from the ground up.
And this is where it gets super interesting. You can think of this blueprint less like a dusty old text and more like a piece of social technology, a foundational operating system designed to run a stable society.
Yeah, and this is such a critical shift in thinking. So often we see the Ten Commandments as just a list of thou shalt nots, right? A bunch of restrictions. But what if it's not that at all? What if it's the actual source code, the fundamental programming needed for a society to function, to be just, and to actually last?
So, let's call it the Sinai OS. It runs on 3 core principles. First, you have to forge a unified people. You take all these separate tribes and you give them a single collective identity. Second, you build a system of justice. And this is key. It has to be universal laws that apply to everyone, rich or poor, no exceptions. And third, you create a culture of shared responsibility. The basic idea that we're all in this together. Your neighbor's problem, it's your problem too.
Okay, so now we've got the ancient code. Let's see what happens when we run it against our modern-day bugs.
All right, first up, the Sinai principle was all about creating a unified people. But our modern bug? These digital echo chambers that seem purpose-built to do the exact opposite, to wall us off from one another.
And that gets right to the heart of the problem, doesn't it? A shared story, a common narrative, that's what forged unity back then. But today, we're fueled by these personally curated feeds, each one creating a totally different reality. It makes real, genuine unity, well, it feels almost impossible sometimes.
Okay, next comparison. Let's talk about justice. The Sinai principle was totally radical. One law that applies to everybody, no matter who you are. Now compare that to our modern bug, this deep us versus them polarization. We've retreated into our tribes. And just think about what that means for a second. When your team, your tribe, becomes more important than a universal principle of fairness, the whole system of justice starts to unravel. We stop seeing each other as fellow citizens and start seeing opponents who are playing a completely different game. And that brings us to the third one, shared responsibility. The ancient code demanded that you take an active role in the health of your community. Our modern bug? Well, it's something called the online bystander effect. It's that feeling of someone else will deal with it, just blown up to a global scale.
I mean, think about it this way. In a small town, if someone's house is on fire, everyone grabs a bucket. There's no question. But on the internet, when we see something awful, misinformation, bullying, you name it, it's just so easy to keep scrolling. We just assume, someone else will report it. That sense of personal responsibility gets so spread out that it practically vanishes.
So after laying all this out, seeing these huge disconnects between the ancient code and our modern bugs, the question really comes back to us. It goes from being about society to being about you and me. What do we do with this?
Well, this ancient OS, it basically hands us a toolkit for our own lives. It's a reminder to actively look for those shared stories that connect us, not just content that confirms what we already think. It challenges us to apply our ideas of fairness universally, even to people we can't stand.
And maybe most importantly, it's a call to take personal responsibility, to be the one who actually grabs the bucket, both in real life and in our digital spaces.
And in the end, that's really what this all boils down to. A group of disorganized, wandering people were given a blueprint, and it helped them build a lasting civilization. So now, in our own chaotic world, as we're all trying to build our own lives, our own communities, it leaves us with one heck of a question. What's your blueprint?